Hello there, welcome to my YouTube channel Saint Nightingale. In this tutorial video, I'm going to be showing you how to sew this high neck corset dress with structured sleeves and gathers. Let's go. Okay, before I forget, if you haven't subscribed, please click on that subscribe button now. Alright, so first off, the brown paper is on the floor for us to begin our pattern. Let me just quickly mention that while I was creating this pattern, my phone just stopped recording. So I'm going to be dropping a link at the top right corner of this video for you to click and watch another video that explains how to cut and sew this particular corset type, which is the two-faced corset type. But let's quickly proceed. I have the pattern already here. I will just be explaining to you how I achieved this. So let me just walk you through what I did here. I marked the starting point. The starting point that I worked with is 6 inches, and that's what you can see on the measuring tape. I went on to mark the shoulder to nipple measurement, which is 10.5 inches, and then afterwards I labeled that bust point. Then I went further to mark the under bust point, which is 12.5 inches, and that's what you can see me marking on that line. I'm just going to use my ruler now to connect the lines and label that on the bust UB. After doing this, the next thing is to mark the waist measurement. So the waist measurement that I worked with is 15 inches, and that's what I'm also marking on that line. I would connect the line to my short ruler and then label WL waist length. Then afterwards, I would now go in to mark the nipple to nipple measurement, which is 3.5 inches on fold, and that's the line that you can see here. I think it was at this point the video just stopped recording because I'm currently using my phone to record the tutorial videos. But I will just, like I said, use my mouth to explain what I did, and also remember to click on the link that I had dropped at the top right corner for you to watch how we proceeded with this. What I was trying to do here is to mark the armhole measurement, which like I've done in other videos, you would see how we're able to achieve this curve as well. So this is what the pattern looks like. You can see the part I labeled 1 and 2 and F1, F2. I'm making it of this length because you can remember at the beginning of the video, that part that has F1 and F2 has like an elongated side basque waistline, which is why I'm going to be elongating this on this side of the dress. So you can see the part that has been shaded off is the part that I'll be cutting away from. You can see the adjusted shoulder measurement that I already made use of or marked in that area. But then, like I said, the video that I've dropped the link earlier would give a proper explanation to how to cut this, and I apologize for this. I'm trying my best to see how I can get another device that would not go off while I'm recording because of the heat. So I've labeled this properly so you can understand the markings again. You can see the space that part upwards is 2 inches, 1 on the left and 1 on the right, and then the one down is 1 on the left and 1.5 on the right. But I mean, the video that I dropped for you would explain this. So we're cutting away the part that would not be working with. You can see that I've also labeled this very well, so you can see where the nipple point is, where the under bust point is, where the waistline is, and where the hip line is that covers or captures the extended basque line that I mentioned. So thankfully my camera didn't go off while I was recording, because I noticed this at the point where I was recording the front part. So let's just proceed to cutting the pattern for the back. Like I mentioned, the front starting point was 6 inches, so the starting point I'm using for the back as well remains 6 inches. What I'm doing now is to mark the waist measurement, which is shoulder downwards 15 inches, or what we also call the half length measurement. Afterwards, I went on to mark the shoulder measurement, which is 7 inches. I went down to also mark the armhole, which is 2 inches from that point. Remember, it's 6.2, 6 plus 2 rather will give us 8 inches, which is the armhole measurement. So I went on to also mark the armhole curve, and then thereafter we're going to be marking the shoulder to nipple measurement, 3.5 inches at the back, to also get our dart. So I mean, that's the line that you can see that I went on to take 1 inch on the left and on the right. Sometimes some persons can decide to use half an inch, but I decided to use 1 inch for this design. After this, I connected the lines that you can see and went further to mark my bust measurement, also calculating the sewing allowance as well to this measurement. So I first of all marked the waist measurement and then added my 2 inches sewing allowance to this, and arrived at that. So the next thing is to take out 1 inch from that line and connect like a V shape downwards. So I mean, when this is tied at the back, when the corset is tied at the back, you would have the lower parts joining together but the upper part will be open. So I've shaded the part that I won't be working with, and I'll pick up my scissors now and trim out the excess. So this is done now. I will now move over to trimming this out. I just shaded that part so you also see that I won't be needing that part. Then I'm using my scissors now to cut out the part that I would not be working with before I place on the fabric and recreate this pattern from it. Like I always mention in my other videos, remember to leave your sewing allowance on all the sides, so that your fabric can be accurate. So the length for this attire is 50 inches, so I added 2 inches to that, which made me to arrive at 37 inches for the full length for the skirt. So I mean 37 plus 15 will give us 52. So the 2 inches sewing allowance already covers that. So I've cut the pattern out. I'm cutting, or rather sewing, the cup together, sewing the front part together. I'll slow this down now so you can see what this front part looks like. So you can also see the extended basque line already showing on that part. I would now show you, I will still show you how I cut that part out and how I arrived at that shape that you had seen at the beginning of the video. So let's join the parts for the front. We've joined the parts for the front, I mean the main fabric itself. So we're going to be joining the parts for the back as well as the lining. The lining that I made use of is bridal satin, and this has been covered up with gum stay, the medium texture, to make it hard, and that's what you can see me joining. So I'm joining the cups as well for the lining that has been lined with gum stay, and the lining that I made use of is bridal satin. So what I will just do now is to replicate the same joining that I did for the main fabric on the lining. It's that easy. Once this is done, we'll just take to the ironing board and iron out. We're back from the ironing table. I'm going to be creating a dart line, as you can see in this video, on the bust cup, and remove that and then insert it into the main fabric and sew down. So just follow through this guide. It's that easy. So I'm opening that up so that it's easy for me to sew down. I'm doing the same thing as well for the other part of the cup. Thereafter, I will now insert this into the space in front. For me, when I'm joining my cup, I start from the center upwards, and then I would now, like, once I'm done, remove and then flip over and then join this. So it's time for us to insert the cup for the left side and for the right side. And the reason why I do this is so that, I mean, the lines on the cup also aligns with what I have on the bodice of that of the corset. So this is it. Let's do the one for the other side now. So that's ready. Let's now draft out the line. So that line you can see is the shoulder to waistline, which is 16 inches, bearing in mind the sewing allowance up and down. So I'm going to go down by 2.5 inches on that line. 2.5 inches will give us 18.5 inches. You can decide to extend yours depending on how you want that. So I've marked that line 18.5 on that line. I'm going to pick up my short ruler now and draw out a V to meet up with that line that I marked where I have the 18.5 inches for. But then on the other line, I'm going to make sure that that sits exactly on the line where I will be sewing on, that gives us the waist measurement, and that's the line, and that's it. That's the basque line. So I'll take my scissors now and trim this. So it's easy to work with when I decide to now join the gathers on this part. So this same technique is what I will use for the part that has the lining. I will slow this video now so you can see this, slow this down rather, so you can see what this looks like. So let's proceed to doing that for the same thing for the lining now, which is the bridal satin part. So I'll just speed this up. It's the same process. Draw out the V, measure the 18.5 inches on that part, 18.5 inches, and then that's it. So we're done. We'll just join the cup for the lining now, and then join the lining with the join the main fabric with the yoke for the front and the back. So the style for this is an inbuilt corset. So I'm going to be sewing the Regilene boning on every part that has a seam, that has a joining, right? I'm going to be sewing this Regilene boning on it, but before I sew it on it, I'm going to be covering up with paper tape, so this doesn't inconvenience the person who will be wearing this. So this boning will be sewn across all the joinings on the lining now. That's the bridal satin and not on the fabric itself. Once this is ready, we'll take it to the ironing board and iron out, and afterwards we'll now proceed to attaching the yoke for the front and the back to the main fabric. So what I'm trying to do at this point is to get the center point and attach the center point of the bodice before joining. So first off, I'm going to join the yoke with the front part of this fabric before I cover up with the bridal satin that I'm using for the lining, or let me just say before I cover up with the lining. So now let's just sew through the yoke with the material itself. So the wideness of the yoke is 3 inches on folds, that's 6 inches, and then the depth of this is 2.5 inches. So we're done with the front part now. We're now going to join the back side with the back side for the for the back bodice as well. What I'm doing now is to just check the measurement to be sure that it's intact. That marking is the part where the sewing will stop, so that it will give me enough room to cover up the lining with the main fabric at the back, as well as the extra material from the chantilly lace that will be connecting with the other side of this. So you just watch me as I sew this down. I'm marking that side as well, which is where I will be starting the sewing from when joining the chantilly lace, which is the part I'm using for the yoke, to the fabric itself. So this is done now. I've flipped over for you to see, and I'm now going to be covering up with the lining for the front, and I'll be doing the same for the back as well. So this is it now. I'll now be joining the shoulder to shoulder for this, but first let's close up the sides. I mean the side that will sit the corset rings. Let's close it up. So on that side, I'm going to be taking half an inch from the tip of that particular part, which is where the boning stick will sit. I mean the other boning stick that is not sewable, that's where that will sit. So I'm just going to take half an inch from that point, and that's that. So we're done with this now. Let's proceed to joining the front with the back. So after joining the front with the back, we're now going to join the sides. So the fabric in front with the fabric at the back, and then the lining in front with the lining at the back. So we're going to be using the inner closing now, the inner closing method, to join the sides. Once I'm done joining, I'll just trim the excess so that this flattens out properly once I'm done. After joining the sides, I will now be sewing down the waist side, I mean the tip of the upper body of this dress. So for the high neck, we're going to be pleating the high neck. As you can remember at the beginning of the video, I mean that's 3 inches on fold, that's 1.5 inches. So I'm going to be pleating this now across the neck area from the back and towards the front. The depth for the back is 1 inch, the wideness remains the same, 3 inches on fold. So I'm just going to pleat this across all the way. So what I did to get the measurement that I worked with is the total length of this neck area multiplied by 3 determines the length of the material that was used for this high neck, and that's how you get this volume. That's done. I'm now going to turn over, I mean still on the right side of this, and sew down. I'm pinning it down by sewing it down using the 1/2 inch sewing allowance away from the first joining. I'm going to zoom in this video so you see what I'm doing. Alright, so we're done with that now. Let's just proceed to the other element, which is the material for the sleeves now. So for the tip of the sleeves, I'm just going to turn in by 1 inch sewing allowance. That's double of that, which is 2 inches, and then sew through for the left and the right side, and then join with the main fabric, or with the upper part of the dress. This done now, let's proceed to joining the lower body of this dress. So what I have is 3 yards of material that you had seen me cut, the one I measured 37 inches. I'm going to be working with the hard net, which is 3 yards as well, but I'm going to be cutting 3 yards times 3, that's 9 yards of this strip, which is as wide as 4 inches for the hard net. I'm also going to be using the normal ABBA lining, the soft lining, 3 yards of that, but then the tip, I'm going to be sewing 9 yards of this 4 inches wide strip as well to it. What I have as a full length is about 23 inches that I've added that I'll be adding those strips to. So 23 inches plus 4 will give us 27 inches, which is what sits inside. And then the bridal satin lining that would now cover this up. So you have the hard net sitting inside, which is going to give us 27 inches hard net, and then the bridal, rather the china abba lining inside, and then you have this covered up with the bridal satin 3 yards, but doesn't have any garden at the tip, which is just about 4 inches, or rather 3 inches away from the final tip of the Mikado silk. So let's join this. So you can see how I'm joining this strip to the material, right? I'm going to do the same thing as well for the part that has the hard net. I'm going to be joining the 9 yards of strip material that is 4 inches wide to this. So also bear in mind that the closing that I did on the tip of this already captures the 4 inches. So let's say 5 inches, half an inch to an allowance already covers this. So this is the hard net now that is already 4.5 inches wide, covering up or making way for the joining allowance that you can see in this video. So let's just proceed to joining this. Afterwards, we'll add all of this to the Mikado silk, the hard net, the lining, and the bridal satin that will be covering this up. So let's join the tip of the Mikado silk. I turned this in by 1 because I wanted to make use of rather by 2 inches. You remember I mentioned 37 inches long, so I'm taking out 2 inches from that. That's ready. So the next thing, like I did, I've slowed this down for you to see the hard net, the abba lining sitting that way, and then the Mikado silk, and you can see the bridal satin, right? So the bridal satin is going to cover this up. Alright, so let me slow this down. You can see the hard net, you can see the abba line, you can see how the joining is facing each other, so that when this sits inside, it gives it that bounce. You can see the Mikado silk itself, you can see the direction of the Mikado silk, and you can also see the bridal satin sitting there as the last piece of material. So I'm going to be joining the sides together on both sides. Flip over, join the tip, and then we'll now pleat this or gather this on the waistline for the upper part of this dress. So this is done now. It's time for us to pleat this on the upper part of the material. So I'm marking that part for my zip allowance. That part I've marked away is the zip allowance and where the starting point will be. I would now begin to pleat this now on the fabric. Once we're done with this, we'll move to joining the sleeves. So that's the Mikado silk first, the lining, the bridal satin, and then you have the net. So I'm going to join the sides together and then open up for you to see what this looks like. So the wideness of this is 22 inches and the length of this is 24 inches. So let's flip over now. This is the fabric already sitting on the mannequin. You can see the waist neck, you can also see the back view. I've also inserted the corset rings. Now it's time for us to insert the structured sleeves now. So I'm going to show you how I will slowly pleat this together to form my my sleeves. You can see the wideness, you can also see the length of this. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to pleat this, right? I'm going to pleat it this way. Just follow through the process and see what I eventually did on this material. I'm going to be using needle and thread to sew this down on the dress. So this is done now. I will be using needle and thread to sew this down. So let me just get my needle and begin sewing this down now on that part. done with the front now, we'll pleat again the same way and sew at the back. I'm going to flip this to the back for you to see how close this is to the corset rings. So you can see that, see how it's sitting pretty. Let's do the other side now. I mean, jokingly, you can see that I have changed outfit like twice. This dress, I used like an entire week to achieve this. But let's just move on. So this is the back, we're done now. I'm using my blade to trim out the excess fabric on the sides. Also, you have to also be careful so you don't ruin the fabric. So I'm just, because I know that this is very thick, and that's why I'm using blade, so it's as quick as possible for me. You can see how the back is sitting. Let's just move away to look at what the upper part is. You can see why I said we should leave that extra allowance for the chantilly lace, right? Because it's going to be joined. So let's move to the front now and use our blade as well to trim the excess. So this is gradually coming together. I will just do a small video for you to see what the front and the back looks like, and then we'll now begin joining the beads to it. I did a small pattern on the floor, or rather on my pillow, for me to see what this will look like before I start implementing. So before you begin putting your beads, it's always good to either sketch or do like a live presentation to see what the design will turn out to look like. So I mean, I like what I see. It's time for me to now begin implementing this on the fabric. I'm also going to be using this 3D flowers to cover up the joining that I did on the sides where you have the structured sleeves. But the first thing I'm doing now is to sew the design that I had just shown you now on the upper part of the dress. Just in case you're wondering what's she doing, so let me just zoom in for you to see what I'm doing and how I'm replicating that design that you had seen me show you on the dress. So that's done. It's time to cover up the sides. So I've covered up the sides, some of the 3D flower, and I've also put that gemstone in the center. I will now give you like a full view of what this looks like eventually, and so that you can see what this turned out to be. If you have any questions for me, you can leave them down below in the comment section and I'll be taking them. Also, we started a WhatsApp channel. If you do not know how to join, just go to my bio and click on the link, WhatsApp link there, to take you directly to the WhatsApp channel. That channel is where we'll be dropping video answers to questions that would require you to relearn what we have just shown you in the tutorial video. If you haven't subscribed, now it's time for you to click on that subscribe button. I'll also be dropping links for you to learn and watch other tutorial videos that I have on my channel. Like I always say, keep creating magic. It's St. Nightingale. Bye bye.